Welcome to my riveting art video. My name is Izzy. A lot of people on my channel don't even know that I actually dabble in photography quite a bit. So I wanted to create a video where I can pull in a little bit of my photography as well as my traditional media skills and kind of combine them in artwork, basically. About a year ago in my last semester of college, I took an alternative process class, and there's a video on my channel where I go way more in depth about that class. It was super cool, but the whole point of it was taking, for the most part, digital photographs and printing them in processes that were usually used for film photography, and just finding cool and interesting ways to print your photographs with things like cyanotypes, Van Dyke Brown processes, stuff like that. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. So one of the things that comes with creating photographic prints in these older, more historic techniques is that, you know, they're pretty imperfect at times, and there's a lot of chance for user error, as well as just literal technical errors. And so with that, I created a lot of misprints. So here is the photograph we'll be dealing with today. As you can see, I printed it in like this pinky purple color. It's a misprint because there's not enough contrast. You can barely, you can see my face, but you can't make out most of the details. I started to lose a lot of the whites of the paper, and the paper itself couldn't handle too much more. So I just had to call it quits on this print. However, I love the colors and I love the photograph. I'll throw the original digital photograph up so you can kind of see what we were looking at, what it was supposed to look like. So yeah, I felt like it had a lot of potential, but it just didn't get there. And so that's why I've chosen to use it today. So now let's deface and vandalize this photograph with some colored pencils. The first thing that I want to do is go in and kind of sketch out and redefine some of the areas on the portrait that got lost in translation because the tonal range got so compressed in the printing process, you really can't see a lot of those things. So in a combination of looking back at the reference as well as just kind of using my best guessing work, I was able to find some of the shapes, and then I put in the whites of the eyes because those had gotten lost as well, and it looks really creepy at this point, so just try not to look at that too hard. But it's also a super satisfying phase, like right in here, where you can kind of see it starting to come back to life after being lost. And I ended up deciding to do the pops of hot pink, similar to the original, where my makeup was very dramatic per se. One thing that really made a difference was going in and shadowing behind the portrait. I think it really honed it in and just made it way more believable, as well as just little bits of shading here and there, never working one spot for too long. A big tip I can give you if you're trying to improve your art is to not work on one thing to completion. So I could have just been working on the left eye, rendered it out perfectly, and then went to the nose, rendered that out, and then went to the right eye and did that one. I find that your artwork is going to look the most consistent if you're doing a little bit on the hair, then you jump to one of the eyes, you do a little bit on the nose, then you jump back to the eyes, to the lips, to the background. If you're just working on everything simultaneously, it's going to be consistent looking, and you're going to be a lot happier with the final outcome, from my experience. And that way you can kind of get a good gauge on your drawing as you're doing it, rather than having to react later. So as you can see, as we're pulled back here, I'm working a little bit on the clothes. I decided to pull in a little bit of the pink just to kind of balance off the hot pink up on top. So I am going into the hair now. Hair is one of those things I almost wish I had never learned how to do it the right way, because it is so time consuming and like it kills your hand. You have to sharpen your pencil so much. Kills your pencils. And it's just like a lot. But also knowing how to do hair is super important. It really can make or break a drawing, and it's so satisfying seeing the end result. Like, I really love how the bangs turned out on this portrait. I feel like it just looks so nice, but it was also just such a pain in the butt to do. But you know, it's all worth it in the end because I like it. I'm gonna show you now how I make my little like doodle rose sort of things. They kind of come up in my art pretty often. So I start by doing this like kind of weird E, and then I just slowly go around the outside of it doing these like weird little half petal things. And it's honestly so simple. If I'm feeling frisky, I'll add a leaf on it. Yeah, and so I'll go into the petals, add a medium tone, sort of like lighter color around to the tips of it, just kind of haphazardly slapping it on. Nothing too serious. Then I'll go in with the color that I did the initial lines with and push in some shadows. Again, I just kind of put it in where I feel like it works without really doing it to every single inch of it. And then I'll go in with a super light color. I'm actually not using white here. It's a very like peachy cream color, and just throwing in some highlights. I think it looks really nice if you don't use white, if you just use like a peach. So now I'm going to make those flowers in like tenfold, so I hope you enjoy this montage of me making a lot of little doodle rose things. So yes, enjoy. Thank you. Wow, I am very happy with how this turned out. I'm going to throw it up real quick for you. Because I want you guys to get a really good look at it, I'll probably also throw up an edited digital version of the traditional one. You'll see, it'll be on the screen right now. You'll know what I mean. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It went from something that's just going to be like getting dusty in my portfolio to something that I'm probably going to get framed and hang up in my apartment. All that being said, if you're at home watching this and now you're excited about the prospect of drawing on top of photographs, I want you to proceed with caution. I was really comfortable doing this because it was my own photograph that I had printed and I was going to draw on top of. I was not worried at all about copyright and the morality of it because it was my own photograph. However, you could really get yourself into a sticky situation if you're just pulling an image off of Instagram that you really like or Pinterest, printing it out and then drawing on top of it. I highly recommend that you take all the necessary measures to make sure you avoid getting yourself into some legal trouble if you decide to do something similar to this. Just a fun fact, any image, video, or music that is over 100 years old is no longer covered under copyright laws. So if you want to go find some archived images from 1919, you can do that, and you can draw on top of them and do some fun stuff. But I couldn't make this video without making that disclaimer as a photographer. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun doing this. It was such a satisfying process watching the photo kind of coming back to life, and I think it has a really interesting quality where it kind of plays with realism and this like illustrative crayon color pencil texture. It's really nice. I wish you guys could all see it in person and really see the texture that is going on this. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching.